I am really excited to see my very first ever pretty decent display on my Rambling Rose Newport Fairy. See if I can zoom in here. Give you different views. This plant is roughly 6 years old, actually a little closer to 5. In the February 2006 issue of Fine Gardening magazine, I had an article about training rambling roses up rebar, and this rose, as a 1-year-old baby, was featured in there, and it's hard to believe to see it's now consumed 2 pieces of rebar. And I'm assuming the reason I'm getting blooms finally this year is we had a cold El Nino winter, lots of moisture, and also age of the plant. Let's go around, but I also want to show another rose I'm fond of. This is my Rosa bracteata, which over the years has gotten huge, way huge. I'm in the process of dramatically scaling it back. Here's the trunk. I'm going to be removing this whole south side of the north side of the plant. It's just extended way too far in the gardens, but it's really a beautiful, beautiful rose. It smells unusual, kind of a pineapple odor. Blooms throughout the year, even though it's a species rose, not a hybrid. The bees love it. It has suckers occasionally, but it's just basically gotten too vigorous. So I'm going to be scaling it way, way back into a small umbrella shape. Let's go around the side here. Oh, there's more blooms on bracteata. Okay, let's go around here. Let's get closer to Newport Fairy. Charming, sweet, simple blooms. I don't know if it's going to show up too well on the tape, but in real life there's a slight kind of a salmon, almost a faint orange cast to the blooms. A sweet multi-floral fragrance. I was inspired to try this plant by visiting Bill Grant in Aptos, California several years ago, where his monstrous plant had completely consumed a tree, and quite literally thousands and thousands of blossoms billowed out of that thing. Both he and Fred Boutine felt it might be reasonable to try here in Tampa because of the parentage, and I bought this plant from Joyce Demitz just before she shut down her longtime rose business. You can see that the base of the plant is extremely vigorous, thick, thick, thick canes, very, very few disease issues. There's lots more buds, so I'm hoping for even more of a prolonged display. In the past, it's made just a tiny handful of blooms, like 4 or 5 literally on a monster this big. So like I said, I'm assuming that I'm getting a decent display because we had so many sustained periods of cold this winter. We had 2 nights in a row of sustained 27, where many of my, actually all my potted plants froze solid, including the soil in the pots. Let's get close to a little bud cluster here. I know for a lot of rosarians elsewhere in the United States, it's like, what's the big deal with Newport Fairy? But here in Florida, we have very, very, very few ramblers, very few, especially the once blooming type like this. So I'm really excited to see this guy perform. I'm going to do some pollinations on it and with it and see if I can get some tea and China blood into it. Let's take one last look at bracteata blooms. Like I said, the bees just love it. That's it. So here's Newport Fairy performing in Tampa at the age of about 5 years old. One last thing, it's on its own roots, and the growth each year in midsummer is in some ways too vigorous, and I have to cut off long shoots so they go way into my neighbor's yard. That's it. Y'all have a good day. Bye-bye.